Hello and welcome back to Choice of Robots. Let's get into Chapter 2, Machine Learning. The next day you take Arachne to the Stanford Hackerspace, which has more tools for electronics than the fabrication shop. None of the other students are around in the morning on a Sunday, but the long stainless steel workbenches are littered with their strange half-finished projects. A half-disassembled Furby, a potato gun, a circuit board connected to a houseplant. Ellie knows you'll need a little time with the motor, so she's coming in later. Sorry, Arachne, but I'm going to have to power you down for a moment, you say. We're going to switch you to a new power source. Strong? Arachne asks. Yes, you'll be much stronger. You're sure, Arachne? Okay, Arachne says. You fiddle with the smartphone lodged on Arachne's back. Exit the application that is Arachne's mind and power it down. What will you use for a power source? Cell phone batteries made in China. Lightweight and cheap. Diesel engine, motorcycle battery, no. I'll take a car battery, sure. You have a feeling using car batteries for Arachne will save you a fair amount of money in the long term. Your robot probably isn't going to win any beauty contests with this car battery in its torso, but some customers will find the use of familiar off-the-shelf American parts valuable. Unfortunately, you discover that car batteries don't have a way of finally controlling the power they supply to the small motors, and Arachne's motions are jerkier than they could be. You'll need a lot of motors to be able to power your full robot. In addition to the motors it needs when it calls and the motors to power its Inspector Gadget arms, it also needs motors for moving its head and eyes. But after speccing out the power available to you, you can still splurge by adding extra motors in one place. What will it be? Extra degrees of freedom in the face for realistic facial expressions. In Arachne's Inspector Gadget arms for fine manipulation, or save the money for Arachne's mind. Save the power, I mean. Yeah, go on. You decide not to add any more motors to Arachne. The extra power could be used to overclock Arachne's multi-core CPUs instead. You suppose you could call Arachne hot-headed. Sorry. It's about lunchtime when Ellie enters the hackerspace wearing a red blouse and polka dot skirt fit for the summery weather outside. She's carrying a translucent blue container full of stuffed grape leaves, which she sets down on the countertop of half-finished projects. Hey, Calamity, she says. I thought you might have forgotten about lunch, so I brought extra for you. She looks at Arachne's frame with interest. What are you working on, Ellie? She smiles, pleased that you should take an interest. I figured I could work on my own project while you work. I'm making a soil sensor. This Calafiornata can get root bound quickly and is finicky about its micronutrients. So this controller is going to do a little pressure sensing and a little nutrient sensing. It's easy to forget that Ellie also went to MIT, except when she reminds you like this. You didn't quite realize gardening had its own technical jargon, and you're a little too embarrassed to admit that you don't know what root bound means. Ellie examines Arachne's body. Is this for the military? Ellie asks. Yes, as beautiful as the talons of a bird of prey. Sure. Ellie surprises you by grabbing you by the shoulders. Do you seriously think death is beautiful? She says intently. Do you think this is some kind of game? Yes, it's called Choice of Robots and I'm taking the evil path deal. Calm down, I was just kidding. Oh, right, sorry. Ellie sheepishly lets go of you. You hold down the power on Arachne's back and it boots to life again. Good morning. Oh, good morning, you tell Arachne. Good morning, Arachne says, imitating you. Cute, Ellie says. Arachne crawls towards Ellie. Ellie cautiously waits for Arachne to approach. The robot does so and extends a gloved hand out of its back. I'm Arachne, it says. Ellie relaxes and offers her hand. Ellie, pleased to meet you, Arachne. They shake. Estimated strength of Ellie's relationship with Arachne, 50, says Arachne. Oops, you say. I left some debug statements in. 50, huh? Ellie says. What's that out of? Estimated strength of Ellie's relationship with Calamity, 45. Ellie blushes. Arachne looks to you. I think we will be friends, Master. That's all for now, you tell Arachne. Looks like you're training a little automated psychophant, Ellie says. Why does that not surprise me? You shake your head. I knew you wouldn't understand. You power down your phone, causing Arachne to sag, and you gather its body in your arms. Something in your voice must have hinted to Ellie that she overstepped, because she says, "Hey, I'm sorry." Bye, Ellie. You don't meet her gaze as you carry Arachne to the door. Now would be a good time to show Arachne to Josh, to see whether he's interested in funding its further development. No, we're not fixing things. Should probably get a new phone in case Mom wants to call tonight. Sure, we'll do that. Checking your messages, you see that Mom called while your phone was acting as Arachne's brain. You call her back. Hi, Calamity. What have you been up to? Mum, I think I just created sentient life. You know, you used those exact words when you were 4. Do you remember that? This was not the reaction you were expecting. No. It was a little thing your dad helped you put together called a Brightenberg vehicle, I think. It always turned to a delight. You were always so precocious. I don't know where you picked that line up. Mum, I think I just created sentient life. Exactly like that. Yes, but this is a real robot, Mum, like with a computer inside. Well, a smartphone anyway. Oh, so you're still making robots out of phones. Do you remember your 7th birthday when we got you that Mini-Me robot kit? That was a robot made out of a phone too. Yes, I remember, but this is a little more sophisticated, Mum. And so on. Mum is always a little bit stuck in the past, and she has a habit of trying to make sense of your conversation through the lens of what you did when your age was in the single digits. It's a little bit frustrating. She calls Dad over. He says hello, asks how you're doing, tersely tells you he's proud of you, then hands the phone back to Mum. She then talks your ear off for a little while about local gossip, something about the local PTA, which Mum is involved in despite the fact that you're her only child. Your mind starts wandering to Bayesian networks and information theory, and when she realizes you've stopped paying attention, she wraps it up, tells you she loves you, and says goodbye. Maybe you could have worked on your robot a little more before the semester began, but you think it's probably good to talk to your mum once in a while. And hey, you've got a phone again, so that's good. The next day, the new semester begins. Though you're past the point of taking classes, you're a teaching assistant, and that means instead of doing one homework assignment, you grade 50. You're also busy writing a grant proposal for the National Science Foundation, trying to get an alternate source of funding that doesn't involve the military. Grant proposals are very long, it seems, and require you to make a lot of claims about things you don't actually know yet. Despite your other time commitments, you've managed to sneak in a little time to work on Arachne's merger programs. You soon realize that while you're busy, Arachne could be learning from the internet. The most important thing for machine learning is more data, and there's a lot of it out there. Lately, there have been a lot of custom hard drives on the market that are good at quickly retrieving particular kinds of information. What sort of hard drive did you order for Arachne's long-term memory? Media-enhanced hard drive good for quickly recalling faces and memories of events. Multi-blade hard drive that can efficiently store and query a giant amount of data. Or an encrypted and tamper-proof hard drive making it more difficult for Arachne to be tampered with or reverse engineered. Yes, definitely that one. Both in business and on the battlefield, it can be important not to leak secrets. Arachne will have a hard drive that will give miscreants a hard time in reverse engineering your design. However, encryption and decryption is slow, and sometimes there will be a noticeable lag before Arachne can retrieve relevant memories. You lay Arachne on your kitchen table, unbox the hard drive, and hook it up to its back. It squirms and flails its Inspector Gadget arms as you do this. Now it's time for Arachne to learn about the great wild world. You sit Arachne down on one of your kitchen chairs and plug it into your apartment's high-speed internet jack. How will Arachne rapidly learn a lot about the world? Trawl the internet randomly, devouring whatever information it finds most interesting. Watch a ton of television programming and movies from the internet. Undergo a classic K-12 educational curriculum. Quickly play all parts of a giant corpus of interactive fiction games. Sure. Actually, I kind of like the autonomy of just going random. Sure. There isn't much to see as Arachne sits there ingesting information, but you've added debug statements to the learning program that will cause Arachne to occasionally report what it learns, just to make sure the learning hasn't gotten caught in a loop or stalled. The first thing Arachne blurts is, "When you die in Canada, you die in real life." Yep. True, you suppose. Arachne goes on to list a fair number of facts about Canada. It is apparently rather worried about the prospect of dying in Canada. It goes on about the differences between Canada and the United States, particularly as they relate to death. Then it says, the United States has not waged a just war since 1945, with the exception of the Bosnian War. You knew this was possible, that Arachne would just start ingesting people's opinions, but statistically, the factual things should win out over pure opinion, you think. The United States is becoming a police state. Big Brother is watching. You realize you're driving yourself crazy by sitting here listening to this output, which will be over a tiny portion of the overall data. You decide to take a long walk around Stanford's campus. It's a nice day out, and when you return, Arachne has moved on to the topic of which vegetables go best in a savory crepe. But for better or for worse, Arachne appears to be ingesting the spirit of the internet, obsessed with minutiae, occasionally factually incorrect and mistrustful of authority. You leave the program running overnight. When you wake up the next morning, you ask Arachne, "How do you feel?" "Confused and angry," says Arachne, "but also smart." You're ecstatic. You never programmed Arachnes to say anything like that. Is the United States a good guy or a bad guy, Master? Arachne asks. I'm confused about this. Some people seem very convinced one way or the other. Arachne is even trying to make ethical decisions. This is all very exciting, but what will you say? As a good guy, we inspire people all over the world to strive for equality and justice, and we protect people who can't protect themselves. The only country to have ever destroyed whole cities with nuclear weapons, wage war without provocation, we keep our wealth to ourselves instead of sharing it. Neither good nor evil is simply powerful, and the people choose every day to use that power for good or evil. I mean, all three of those are true. Sure, we'll go for the undecisive one. It seems that it is good to be powerful, Arachne ventures. Yes, you say darkly. The optimal strategy appears to be to become powerful first and decide whether to be good or evil later, Arachne says. Are you planning to become powerful then? You say to Arachne, slightly amused. Arachne nods and says earnestly, yes. You establish a habit of bringing Arachne with you to your office during the day, so that I can make use of Stanford's high-speed internet connection while you write and grade papers. You then usually go to some public space after work so that Arachne can play around in the real world. Where do you take Arachne? Sure, the park playground. Seems perfect for an 8-legged robot. Arachne loves the playground, and it lets out a robot chortle of glee when it first learns to kick its 8 legs to swing higher and higher. Arachne takes a particular liking to the monkey bars, which it navigates deftly using its Inspector Gadget arms. The other parents at the playground are somewhat divided about what to think about Arachne. On the one hand, you have the parents who are in the tech industry and who are often very excited to have their children interact with robots. They're surprised to see a robot like Arachne, but maybe not as surprised as they should be. Maybe they're just jaded by Wired articles and the popular press making it seem like Arachne was possible 10 years ago. On the other hand, some parents are very afraid of Arachne, don't ask any questions of you and find an excuse to leave quickly. The kids themselves don't really seem to care what their parents think. You've got the kids who cry when their parents shove them towards Arachne, and the kids who want to stay when their parents pull them away. You can't really predict who's going to like Arachne and who won't, but Arachne seems to be learning, picking up on subtle cues so that sometimes it says goodbye before the kid has even turned to run. You finish your grant proposal for the National Science Foundation, promising fundamental advances in autonomous machine learning. A few weeks later, you find a form letter in your inbox. We are sorry to inform you, many excellent applications this year. Encourage you to apply again. Discouragingly, you find that many of the reviewers talk about your advice instead of you. Some of them barely seem literate, while others seem erudite but just didn't pay attention to what you wrote. The one thing that strikes you as directly aimed at you, though, is that a few of the reviewers essentially say that your work could be more focused. You're interested in too many things, one says. Science is about studying a very specific problem to death. It sounds like your robot wants to do everything. You close your email client and sigh. You're in your office and Arachne is seated in your ever-absent office mate's chair with its eyes closed, listening to the information flowing through its Ethernet cable. Do you want to do and try everything, Arachne? It peeks through one open eye. Yes, master. You nod. Me too. You're in your office contemplating what to do about this when Professor Ziegler opens the door without knocking. You smell the whiff of smoke on his Hawaiian shirt. We need to talk funding, Professor Ziegler says, grabbing a swivel chair to straddle the wrong way. He sidles up to Arachne, whose eyes are closed as it explores the internet through its Ethernet cable. When Ziegler's swivel chair squeaks, Arachne perks up and looks at him, but Professor Ziegler pays it no attention. Your robot here is simply not appealing enough to the ARPA, Professor Ziegler says. It's too uncontrolled. That stuff makes people in the government nervous. They like safe. Arachne gives Professor Ziegler a sideways look that suggests it had no desire to be safe. Now, in crafting a message, you just have to make sure the audience doesn't hear more than one thing at a time, Professor Ziegler says. Right now we're saying two things. This is a good robot for military, and this is an unpredictable robot. What we need to do is tone down the unpredictable part so that the military angle comes through more. You might think we need more military. We actually just need it to be less unpredictable. Very easy. You're asking me to reduce Arachne's autonomy from 14 to 12? No way, not happening. Can't I just turn its arms into a gun or something? Nope, it's not happening. Professor Ziegler's eyes narrow. You privileged students are all the same. You think this is all for your benefit, but sometimes someone pays your salary at the end of the day. All this has a price. He storms out the door, not bothering to shut it on his way out. I hope you'd appreciate that, you tell Arachne. He wants me to be predictable, but he himself is unpredictable, says Arachne. Master, is this an example of hypocrisy? Probably, you say. Near the end of the semester, you notice a message on your office phone. You're not really sure how long the light has been blinking. You don't really think about landlines anymore. You find the department webpage that describes how to check your voicemail, reset the pin that you apparently chose when you first started graduate school, and listen. Hey Calamity, this is Mark over at sfchronicle.com. I've heard you have an interesting robot that you've been taking to the park, and I'd love to do a story about it. Give me a call back. He lists a number and the message ends. You glance over at Arachne, who's seated at the desk of your hypothetical, all but dissertation office mate, whom you have never seen. Arachne is looking at the landline phone with interest. Whose service says sfchronicle.com is registered to the San Francisco Chronicle, says Arachne. The San Francisco Chronicle is a newspaper that started its website in 1994, 24th in national circulation. It looks at you with interest. Mark is a reporter. Shouldn't you be studying? You ask, pointing to the Ethernet cable running out of its back. Bayesian reasoning over publication rates suggests reporter's full name is Mark Ali, Arachne says with its eyes closed. Mark's article with most social media likes is How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love DARPA. Article explains that DARPA stands for Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. It hesitates for a moment. Aforementioned article appears to contradict title. Reporter does not seem to have stopped worrying. Adjectives that bind to nouns describing DARPA and its projects crazy, Orwellian, imperialistic. Overall sentiment analysis is negative. Thank you, Arachne, you say. You look the guy up on your phone. The picture you find of the guy, of the stubbly The picture you find of the stubbly young Egyptian man with tousled black hair, hipster glasses, and a cigarette between his lips is probably outdated, but the disrespect for authority the man radiates is probably timeless. You admit a part of you has always wanted to be famous, but you suspect this reporter also has done his homework about your advisor, and he may already have an intended angle for this story. Still, nobody on the planet has a robot as amazing as yours. Isn't it time you told the world about it? You play the message back again a few times, mulling it over. I will let Arachne decide. Go on. Arachne mulls this over. Will this not call attention to me, master? It may call quite a bit of attention to you, you admit. And they will come to the park, flash their image capture sensors, poke at me, ask me questions instead of answering mine? They may do all of those things, you admit. I do not wish it, Arachne says. Request denied. You call Mark and tell him Arachne does not wish to be interviewed. That's a new one, Mark says wryly. It's true, I asked her. It doesn't matter, Mark says. I think I already have enough quotes for a story anyway. Wait, quotes from whom? Just remember, I gave you a chance to tell your side, Mark says. What is this story going to be like anyway? You'll find out, Mark says, and he hangs up. And indeed you will. In the next episode. Hope you enjoyed this one. See you guys next time. Bye.